Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. Thank you so much for taking time to be part of the program today. I greatly appreciate that. Today we have episode number 153, 153 episodes in to this show, Solutions with Courtney Anderson. We have a show that is part of the Help Situation Spotlight series. And of course, this is a series entirely dedicated to your questions and concerns. So please, I continue to encourage you to come to CourtneyAnderson.com, and there is an opportunity for you to submit your feedback, submit show topics and ideas, and hopefully one of your questions or concerns will be one of our future shows. I want to introduce our specific episode topic today. So it is, they don't want me here. They don't want me here. They don't want me here. So again, this is a question where someone's saying, help. They don't want me here. So again, if you come to CourtneyAnderson.com, we have a show page, which is a website page just for this show, where we include expanded notes, links to all of the things that we discussed during our program, and of course, links to our show sponsors. This is one of the show topics that when I'm looking through the show notes and the show schedule, I think, wow, just the title. It's a bit painful. Help. They don't want me here. It's painful. But I certainly understand why. It's an excellent suggestion for the show, and it's obviously why we're doing it. The power of the title of the episode, They Don't Want Me Here. It brings together several other types of shows we've done. Shows about rejection, shows about maybe being the only person like yourself in a room, in a professional setting. So how do you handle that? If at all? The question, of course, is help. They don't want me here. So the first question I would pose as we start to walk through this and try to see if we can come up with any potential suggestions, ideas, solutions for framework to apply to help us, of course, surpass our goals. The first inquiry I would have would be, how do you know this? Now, this is a really important question because sometimes I've been working with someone and they're telling me something just, devastatingly stressful and awful, right? They don't want me here. They don't want me in this department. They don't want me in my division. They don't want me in my job title. They don't want me here. And that, again, it just conjures up such, pain. But upon further investigation, sometimes it turns out that the person has no credible evidence for this. It's just a feeling. So that's why I ask you, how do you know this? Now, some people may be thinking right now, well, I know it because they told me, right? If your coworker came up to you and said, you know what, we don't want you here. If your boss came to you and said, oh gosh, you're still here? We really don't want you here. These are pretty assertively presented communication signs that and you define who they are, right? The person who told you they don't want you here. How do you know they don't want you here? Because that person literally said, I do not want you here. We do not want you here. No one wants you here. These are all clues that yes, this may not be simply a figment of your imagination. It might not be something where you're just sort of misinterpreting something. It may actually be they really don't want you here because they told you. Now, sometimes we have discussions and community members like yourself will say, well, do people really imagine this type of stuff? How is it possible that someone, misinterpreted something and thought that they didn't want them there, but no one ever actually felt that or did that? Yes, it does happen. And it happens for a whole bunch of reasons. I think one of the most prominent reasons that somebody thinks they don't want me here, but actually no one has expressed it or done anything, and it may not even exist, is because the person themselves has insecurities with being there. And this may be that they're new to the job or new to the career. It may be that they feel insecure about they don't have as much experience as other people have. It may be that they doubt their own abilities. They just may, inside their own mind and their thought process may be, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, you're not thorough enough, you shouldn't be here. It may be any, combination of factors that result in somebody feeling internally like I shouldn't be here. So when you walk into a professional setting, whether it's paid work or volunteer work, and the person already enters the building, they enter the website, they enter the process carrying with them, right? They've picked up on their own mentally all of this insecurity, and they're carrying it with them. It's in their own head before they even get there to whatever the event or the work transaction is. They already are saying to themselves, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't deserve this. I've even had people share things with me and they'll say, you know what, I had that opportunity and I just kept telling myself it was too much money. They were paying me too much. I didn't deserve that. And I know that's, again, people might say, well, it's not logical, but it actually is. If you haven't gotten to a place where you've sat with your own thoughts and made some really important decisions, who are you? How do you define yourself? What do you want? Then you leave yourself open for other people to come and put all their influence and all of their ideas and input. And you may have people in your life who are your staunchest supporters. You may have people in your life who, like a magical movie, you wake up every day and there are people saying to you, I love you. Oh, you are so smart and funny and kind and strong. I just love you. I know that everything you do today is going to be beautiful and wonderful. I've never been happier than having you in my life, and I'm so proud of you. It may be that that's what you wake up with. There are other people who wake up and get the exact opposite. They have people in their life say to them, I'm disappointed in you. You're an idiot. Everything you do is a failure. You embarrass me. I'm disgusted by you. Some people hear worse than that. Some people hear nothing. But there's nobody that talks to them. And in the absence and in the presence of wonderful, outstanding affirmations or negative insults and verbal abuse and emotional abuse, and in just silence where there's no one to talk to somebody at all. Your thoughts, our internal thoughts, you and I are constantly telling ourselves we have our own story going on. We have our own narrative and our own discussion going on in our own heads in conjunction with these other external events, right? And so before we even get to a situation where they even know we're here at all, whether it's at the office, in the building, on the website, at the meeting, at the virtual job, at the nonprofit, coordination meeting. It doesn't matter where it is. Before we even get there, there's all of this other input and discussion that's going on internally in our own heads. And then that's also influenced to a certain extent by what we hear externally. So when people are already having a discussion inside their own mind that they shouldn't be there, that they're going to fail, or they already have failed in the past, if they're reflecting and sort of, simmering in their past disappointments, if they're angry with themselves, if they're very self-critical, and they think to themselves, how dare you think you're going to be able to do this? Everything else you do, you screw up. You're stupid. You always mess up. You don't do it as well as you could. I don't know why you keep, putting yourself out there and embarrassing yourself. You're so stupid. Some people actually hate themselves. It sounds weird if you haven't experienced that or known someone who has, but we did a show, right? In a battle against yourself, in a war against yourself, in a fight against yourself, you're going to lose. Because you're with yourself all the time. You can't even escape that. If you're bullying yourself inside your own mind, then you can't even turn it off unless you make a decision to do so. It's not like you can, if you're bullied by someone at your office, at least when you leave work, you don't have to hear it, right? But if you're bullied by yourself in your mind, then that's potentially with you every single moment of your consciousness. So when I ask you, how do you know they don't want you here? Then again, you need to be able to follow up and answer on your own right now, how do you know it? Did they tell you? Did they write it down? People do this. Now, this seems even more illogical. I've seen this, especially as a lawyer, when I'm taking situations where somebody was in their work and it became a harassment or a work environment that was such that somebody could not actually do their job due to bullying and harassment and things of that nature. People actually write, especially with the technology that's come along. So emails, but now they send text messages. They'll post it on social media. It's amazing. So then it's not at all debatable. It's not even something where I could think it might be your imagination. You're blowing it out of proportion. You misunderstood. You have written proof. They sent you a text message. I hate you. You're a horrible person. They put it all over their social media. That makes it very easy then for everyone external to the situation to see, this isn't your imagination run wild. This is, okay, wow, they even wrote it down. Not very smart on their part, but it happens. So you really need to spend time sitting with this. When we did this shows on bullying at work, right, and handling abuse at work, we talked a lot about this. How do you know this? Because it is not uncommon for someone to perceive that other people don't want me there. But it's not actually based on any evidence. So the people haven't said to them, I don't want you here, or threatened them. They haven't written anything down and said, we wish you would leave. You're a horrible person. We hate you here. It's just that the person feels. And that is very often triggered by their own internal dialogue where they already are telling themselves they shouldn't be there. And then when they'll say things like, well, no one said anything to me yet, but they were looking at me. And they also, I noticed on lunch, they all went to a restaurant. They invited me, but, I don't even like that restaurant. So I think they just said that to be nice, but they really didn't want me to come. And so it's pretty obvious they don't want me here. Okay, no, it isn't. First of all, if they're looking at you, then unless it's something where they're glaring at you, they're making some sort of facial expression to threaten you. If they're just sort of looking around, then people look. That's just, part of our sort of makeup as humans. If they invited you to lunch, then I really want you to underscore this point. They invited you to lunch. That means that they invited you to lunch. If they didn't want you here, they wouldn't invite you to lunch. They don't want you here, they're going to do a couple of things, depending on the personality of the entities that don't want you. What's the goal? Okay, so assuming that someone really didn't want you there. Let's just assume for a second somebody really didn't want you there. Okay, what is the goal of the person who doesn't want you there? Their goal is for you to go. Their goal is for you to be gone. Their goal is for you to leave that environment, right? They don't want me here. If that's accurate and that's really what's happening, then their goal is for you to be gone. That's their goal. You no more there. Then them happy or content for a moment, right? The goal is, if I don't want you here, then my goal is for you to leave. I want you to go. All right. So if I want you to go, my goal is for you to leave. Why on earth am I inviting you to lunch? Why am I talking to you at all? If I want you to leave, there's usually two sort of primary methods that people will use. One is they'll just ignore you. And they'll do everything they can to make you isolated. So they're ignoring you. You're not invited to lunch. No one even spoke to you in the hallway. You felt like, nobody even acknowledges you exist. They don't look at you. They don't speak to you. They don't respond when you ask them a question. Those are all ways to sort of freeze you out. So you'll be so uncomfortable and so lonely and so ostracized that you'll leave, right? They want you to go. So that's one of the very common tactics. They're going to do everything they can so that you don't even feel present, right? So if they're engaging you, that's diminishing the odds that they want you to leave. Because otherwise, it's not going to help them get what they want. If I'm sitting around spending time with you and looking at you and talking to you and all of this, I'm not helping you leave. I'm bringing you into the fold. I'm socializing with you. I'm acknowledging your existence. So again, a very powerful tool that people use when they don't want you here is they just go the silent treatment. Another way is that people will use the sort of the opposite sort of spectrum of behavior, right? They're going to be very aggressive, and they're going to try to bully you out of there. So now they're not ignoring you, but now they're going to just be very explicit. You are not invited to lunch. You're an idiot. I can't believe you wore that. Nobody in the office likes you. I can't believe that you're here in the promotion. It should have gone to Jim. He's been here longer. These are all like really assertive sort of bullying tactics to tell you to go. Now, there are subtle variations on this. Some people are passive aggressive, where they'll invite you to lunch, but they invite you to lunch only to then sort of insult you, right? Oh, yeah, I'm really glad you came to lunch today. I was surprised. I mean, I would have thought you wanted to go to the gym or something, you know. I mean, you certainly could use another workout. And I just, so there's a lot that they'll do. They'll bring you there and they'll just insult you, which basically it's bullying. It's just a less sort of stereotypical method. So I'm not going to scream and yell and call you names. I'm going to insult you. I'm going to gossip about you behind your back. I'm going to spread rumors about you. I'm going to be very uh, sarcastic and condescending to you, to directly to your face. These are all passive aggressive ways, right? I'm going to take credit for your ideas. So these are all just sort of the same goal oriented behavior. They want you to go. So they're going to do it by isolating you, or the other end of the spectrum, they're going to just go ahead and aggressively try to drive you out by bullying. And then there's a whole spectrum in the middle where they'll do a little bit of gossiping, uh, saying insults to your face, doing everything they could to undercut your credibility. So there's all that in the middle flavors, but all of that is one thing. They want you to go. If they're genuinely inviting you to lunch and they're, sort of talking to you and they're not insulting you or passive aggressive or doing anything, and they're just sort of like, oh, how was your day? Yeah, this is what we did. Then where's the behavior that wants you to go? Now, what some people will say who it is, it's not their imagination. When I say that, it's a misunderstanding. It's not your imagination. What it is the person entered the interaction already believing that they shouldn't be there. Like, it's in their own head, right? We talked about that. And so when they believe it, then they just interpret things differently. If I believe I shouldn't be here, I can look around and interpret all kinds of things. Did the person look at me? Did they not look at me? Why were they walking so fast? Why did they walk so slow? Why were they standing up? Why were they sitting down? What did it mean when they said, what do I want to eat? You can just interpret things because you already have made the decision yourself you shouldn't be there. So you're just looking at all kinds of things that are often innocuous and don't mean anything. So it's not your imagination. It's that you have this very powerful narrative in your head. I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve this. It's too much money. It's too much pressure. I'm going to fail. I'm the only woman in the office. I'm the only man in the office. I'm the only young person in the office. I'm the only older person in the office. I'm the only person in the office of my religion or of my race or ethnicity or color or size or ethnic background or whatever. Look, see where we're going? If you in your head believe they don't want you there, then you just go find anything that you see, hear, smell, and you use that to reinforce your pre-existing conclusion. So it's not imaginary. It's that you've made the decision. My argument is that you don't want to do this. You must enter the situation with your own foundation of a sort of declarative position. Which leads me to my next two questions in the show notes. First question, how do you know this, right? How do you know they're not here? How do you know they don't want you here? We're trying to get to that. And it's either basically two choices. Actually, they do not want you there, which we're going to deal with in one way. And the other option is they actually don't care whether you're there or not. So it's not a thing where they don't want you there. They may be ambivalent and don't even really pay attention or notice you. But whatever it is, they don't have a position where they don't want you there. They either don't want you there, because what I'm trying to do is not get you to see this as they don't want me here or they do want me here. Those are not necessarily opposites. It's just like love and hate aren't opposites. They're the same thing. They're just different ends of the spectrum. The opposite of love is being ignored. It's not hate. If someone is like, oh, I just can't believe, they keep doing this. They're talking about them all the time. That's not hate. They're all engaged and enraptured in that person, right? They have a huge connection. Love and hate are not opposites. It's love and ambivalence that are opposites. It's love and being ignored that are opposites. So I don't want you to think, well, they either don't want me here or they do want me here. No, those are not the opposite. They either don't want you here or they don't care. The opposite of love is I don't care. And that is really important to remember. Lots of settings, but certainly in this show. So the first question is, how do you know this? Because we're trying to figure out, is it actually a situation where they, whoever they are, don't want you there, which is option one. Or option two, they don't care. So my second question is, why do you care? Here's the deal. If you start your day or night or whenever it is that you wake up to begin this next experience of being awake for a period and then going on to back to sleep, because as humans we have to do this, or at some point we're going to suffer physical breakdowns. If you wake up, and irrespective of whether you have some external person telling you you're awesome and how much they love you and how proud they are, or you have an external person telling you you're awful and they hate you and you're a disappointment, or you have no external person telling you anything because you're alone, irrespective of that, you have your own dialogue, right? So your own dialogue, if you've made the decision that you are going to go there, then why would you care what they think? If you want to be in that business, in that environment, in that meeting, on that volunteer committee, on that school committee for your kids, on the committee with your church or social group, why do you care? So let's say that it is accurate. They really don't want you there. Okay, and remember, they're going to show that to you in some way because they're trying to accomplish their goal. If they really don't want you there, they're either isolating you and ignoring you, or they might be yelling at you or insulting you or doing some sort of passive aggressive gossiping about you behind your back or trying to sabotage you at work or whatever. So they're doing something to get the goal, which is get you to go. If you have decided on your own, in your own head, before you even get to the job, whether it's a physical location or it's a virtual location or it's a phone call or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you decided that this is what you're going to do, then why do you care what they want? If in your mind the decision is, I want to be here. I want this. I want to be at this meeting. I want to be at this phone call. I want to be in this company. I want to be in this department. I want to be in my job. I want to be me. I want to. Then the fact that they don't want you there is not even relevant at all to the discussion. Who cares? Now, I say that, and people sometimes when we're having discussions or workshops on this topic, people will respond to me and say, well, it's easy for you to say that. It's just so easy. It's not easy. Oh, okay, look, here's the deal. Who defines you? Who defines you? Who decides for you? If you make the decision that you define yourself and you make your own decisions, then what other people think, whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, a peer, a client, someone on the street just walking around, what they think of you is not relevant because you've already made a decision who you are and what you want to do. You decided. We did a show, I'm not here by accident. I'm here by choice, by my choice. And it's underscoring this part of the analysis. If you've made the decision in your own head, in your own mind, then if you have somebody telling you that you're horrible, whether it's somebody in your family or friends or in your job, then what does it matter? Who cares? You decided. This is really powerful, and people will often get very, fervent with saying, well, it's not that simple. And the thing is, that's weird. It kind of actually is. It works the other way too, and here's how you can test whether or not you find this to be assertive, potentially. Well, certainly, I'm making a point assertively, but whether or not you think it might be credible. Have you ever known somebody who does have someone in their life, family, friend, spouse, kids, whoever, who is so positive? So you know somebody and they really do, start their day where they have someone, you've even heard it or witnessed it or visited, or and there's someone saying to them, you're fantastic. You can do anything. I believe in you. I'm so proud of you. You are wonderful. I love you. Have you ever known somebody who's getting all of that positive feedback and support? And yet you talk to them and listen to them and they'll say things like, I'm just not good enough. I don't know why I keep messing up. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen somebody who gets that public message? Maybe they're famous and well known in sporting or politics, or they're an artist, an actor. You ever seen anything where there's somebody who has literally sometimes millions, hundreds of millions of people sometimes, saying how wonderful they are, and they win awards for being such a great talent. And yet they go and they commit self-harm. They hurt themselves. They abuse themselves. Sometimes they even literally take their own lives. So how does that happen? If you have millions of people telling you how great you are, people who are given awards for being talented and beautiful. If millions and billions of people telling you how great you are isn't enough to have the person think they're great, then it shows you that your internal decisions are everything. Now, your internal decisions in your mind about how you define yourself, what you decide, they're influenced by other feedback. But just because other people tell you you're great doesn't mean that the person thinks they're great. We've all seen this. There's so many media examples we talk about, historical examples. So that may be certainly to some extent anecdotal, but there's certainly a lot of research that you can go access. It happens all the time. And people are outside the situation and think, well, they're incredulous. Well, how could that person? They have everything. They're famous or beautiful and are rich, and everyone tells them how great they are, and they won all these awards, and they're so special, and they still don't value themselves. So it shows you that that's not going to work. That your internal decision has some very predominant amount of influence on what's going to happen. So even if everyone in the world tells you they do want you there and you're just wonderful and perfect, and people even, make a living by waiting for you to leave where you live and take your picture. That's how much people want you. They're just desperate for you. It doesn't translate automatically into you wanting you. So, why do you care? If you've made the decision that you value yourself and you want to be there, then what other people think is just that. It's what other people think. And you are with you your entirety of your life experience. The other people aren't. Even if you work at some place for 20 years, that's only 20 years out of your life. What if you were 40 years old? Half your life you didn't know those people. Even if you're a parent, you were a person for many years before you became a parent. Who are you? What do you want? What do you decide? If you want to be there, be there. So what if other people don't want you there? Maybe it's only one person who doesn't want you there. Maybe it's everybody in the office who doesn't want you there. And that's not the question. The question is, what do you want? Which is my third question in the show notes. First question in the show notes, how do you know this? Second question, why do you care? Third question, do you want to be there? Do you want to be there? If the answer is yes, you want to be there, then be there. If the answer is no, I don't want to be there, then don't be there. The fact that other people also have an opinion is okay. All right. But what's it have to do with anything? It works both ways. If you don't want to be there, but everybody else is, oh, you should be here. You're so good at this. You're so talented. You'd be the best. That's what we just went over, right? The person who we see in the public eye, we all think, well, how could that happen? Look at them. Everybody says how great they are. They're the best, literally the best in the world, many people. They're famous. They're rich, and you look at, and they still don't like themselves. Because they don't want to be there. They don't want to be in that movie. They don't want to be on that stage. They don't want to do that. They don't want to play that sport anymore. They don't want to. So it doesn't matter what everybody else wants. They're unhappy. It's not working. Maybe it never did. Do you want to be there? This is actually, although it's the third question on our show notes, it's actually the only question you need to ask. Do you want to be there? If you answer yes and you want to be there, then you're not going to care about when you ask question 2, why do you care? You don't. And you also have to be adult enough to realize, goodness gracious, the most famous people in the world who, won the best sporting event, the world championship, or won the most awards for their being an opera performer or a stage performer or a painter, or sculptor, whatever. Like they don't have 100% adoration all the time. They have people who say to them how horrible they are, and people who are critics, and people who say to them, I don't like your singing. I think your art is awful. So if they don't have that, then how on earth are you and I going to have this? Where we just walk in, the expectation that people have sometimes, which ties back to question 1, right? How do you know this? I'll have people in tears, literally in tears, All ages, men, women, all different parts of the world, in tears. Well, there are definitely at least two people in the office. They just don't want me there. And they get so upset about that. And it's like, well, how many people work in the office? Well, there's about 200 people in our department, and there's about 20 people, on the floor in my division. Okay, out of 20 people, two people don't like you. So, who cares? I don't care if you told me that out of 20 people, 19 people don't like you and don't want you there. And who cares? I would say actually if it was 20 people and you tell me that all 20 of them don't want you there, I'd still say who cares, because here's the deal. Somebody wanted you there because you're there. It's not like you went in there and you're not even working. You went in there as an employee. You went in there on the same, organization that they are. So somebody hired you. If it's a volunteer group, somebody, invited you or let you know about it. You have the same right to be there that they do. Now, if you said to me, "Oh, I don't even work there. I'm just trespassing on private property and I just go in there because I like the place." Then I'd say to you, "Yeah, well, first of all, you've committed a crime and they're probably going to call the police on you because you don't actually work there and you're just trespassing." Well, then they don't want you there because you don't even belong and you have no reason to be there. You don't work there, you weren't hired there, you're just walking around randomly, walking in places where you don't have any authority to be. And they're probably going to call the law enforcement to have you leave because you're trespassing. Absent that, which does happen, if you actually are employed, then even if everybody in that department hates you or despises you or wishes you weren't there, somebody somewhere wanted you to be there because they hired you or they've not fired you. So at least there's that. When 100% of an organization decides they don't want you and they have the opportunity to, they're able to. Now, sometimes you're working a job where nobody can fire you. Some jobs, depending on what you're doing, will have contracts or clauses or terms where the only way you will leave is if you decide you want to leave yourself. But absent that, no one can make you leave. Okay, fine. Then again, what does it matter what they think? Do you want to be there? If the answer is yes, then be there. If the answer is no, then go. But don't make the excuse, and this is what I see all the time. Someone's, "Oh, there's no way I could stay. They just didn't want me to be there, and I was the only me, the only fill in the blank, whatever, gender or age or size or ethnicity or race or religion or national origin or whatever. And I just knew because of that they didn't want me there." That's not the reason you left. Unless you have one of these situations where you don't have any definition of who you are and you run around making decisions entirely based on what other people tell you, which is incredibly dangerous, because some people are going to tell you what you want to hear and some people are going to tell you horrible things, but they all are going to have their own motives. So why would you make decisions based on that? It's your life. So when people say, "Oh, I was forced to leave because they didn't want me there," no. If you want to be there, and assuming that you live in a part of the world and you have access to enforce your rights, which certainly in many parts where we do that through the law, right? Just because you don't want me here is irrelevant. Am I doing my job? Do I like it? Then I'll be here because I want it, because I like it. What does my contract say? You have to make your own decisions. And even if everyone there, quote, wanted you there, they don't really, because only a few percentage of people are going to be invested in you at all. Most people don't think about you at all. We did a show about this, right? We talked about how little people think of us, right? We would worry less about what people think of us if we realized how little they think of us. Because they don't. They're thinking about themselves. They think about their own life. Think about all the stuff that they have to worry about. They're not thinking about you. You're not the center of other people's lives. There are some people that you're very important, but even when you hear this all the time with people with kids, with children, right? They'll say, "Oh, now my kids are older and they don't even really pay attention to me." Well, no, they have their own friends, they have their own activities, they have school and learning and all this other stuff. So you're part of their life, but as they get older and their life expands, they're going to have their own interests. They're going to have their own world. And that's healthy. Again, check your narcissism and make sure that you're not having some sort of inflated sense of ego. It's not all about you. It never is. I don't care if you're the owner of the company. It's not all about you. Trust me. And we've done programs about this. Do you want to be there? If you do, stay. If you don't, go. But don't use the excuse that you left because they didn't want you there, because that's not relevant. If you wanted to be there, you'd still be there. Are there situations where people they want to be there, but there's abuse, there's harassment, and there's no way for them to stop it? There's no legal remedy, or there's no other process at the organization internally to stop it. And because of that, they can't tolerate it anymore, and maybe their life is even at risk and they leave? Yes, Obviously, I'm not talking about that because it includes illegal actions. If someone's illegally violating the law and there's nobody that's stepping in to enforce the law and stop them from doing it, and you've got to make a decision for your own safety to leave, well, then of course leave. You're not going to sit there and say, well, I have rights. Well, yeah, but there's somebody right there violently attacking you or trying to do something to harm you. Yes, in the short term, you got to go. And then hopefully work within the system and to change it so that we do have rule of law. We do have policies in the organization where we don't tolerate this and people are allowed to make a decision based on the job. But if it's just run of the mill, some people like you, some people don't like you, that's normal. Everybody has to deal with that at some level. And the question is, the answer to it, the easy answer is, what do you want? If you really want it and you feel good about yourself, you're confident in who you are, you believe that you should be there and you want to be there, then be there. And when people are rude or silly, then we're going to use some of the other tactics we talk about in so many of these other programs, right? How to handle frenemies at work, how to deal with people who are jealous. We have so many different shows. So access all of that. Bring all those tools to bear and then go and have a nice day and be content and joyful in your life. That's the whole purpose. In the show notes, you'll see that I have the definition of want because it's so important, right? And it's from my Merriam-Webster. So I've got a link there in the show notes. Again, that's CourtneyAnderson.com. This is episode 153. And it says, definition of want, to desire or wish for something. That's the definition that we're talking about. So here's the deal. So they desire or wish you not to be there. And people desire and wish all kind of things. Sometimes I'll desire and wish, I wonder what it would be like if humans could live at the bottom of the ocean in some sort of magical water environment. I wonder what that would be like. You can desire or wish anything. What's that have to do with your life and your choices? Nothing. What do you want? Answer that. The problem for some people is that answering that, you have to also make a decision about who you are, how you define yourself. So if you really think about yourself and you think, oh, I'm just so stupid and I always mess up and there's no way I'd be able to do anything, a job like that, or I'd mess up the project. Well, then stop right there. Look, you're at battle. You're at war with yourself. You don't need to make any other decisions until you handle who's going to win the war. And it can go either way. You may make the decision, I give up. I am the most horrible, yucky, gross, stupid, nasty, bad person in the history of all existence, of all organisms, and as such, I will never do anything or try. I will just every day sit somewhere and lament the core horribleness that I am. That is a choice. I strongly recommend if you do that, then that you limit your exposure to other people and any organization, because there's nowhere you're going to go. There's nothing you're going to do as a volunteer at a job or anything else socially where it's going to be anything but depressing, because you're carrying with you all of this pain and anger and rage based on your conclusion that you are literally the most disgusting, evil, horrible thing that's ever existed. Now, it's not logical, but people make the decision. All I'm saying is that don't go anywhere. Because even if the people are trying their best to have their own good day, remember, everybody's got the same challenge in front of them. They're trying to get through their day. So, and they ask you, oh, you want to go to lunch? And then you erupt with, well, I knew you didn't want me here. I just can't believe it. Really? But yeah, if you're sitting there just full of rage and anger because you made a decision that you're a horrible, worthless human, then everything you do is going to be the same. Because everywhere you go, there you are. And you're carrying with you all the same disappointment and rage and everything. But that's a choice. All I'm saying is if you decide, that's the conclusion you draw after all of your analysis and working through all of the different credible sources and all of your own research, that's what you decide, then you need to sit quietly somewhere and limit your exposure to other people, because everywhere you go, you're going to just be spreading all that misery and pain. And that's something that really isn't fair to everybody else. If, on the other hand, you go through your analysis and you think, is it really credible that in all of the existence of all of the humans in the past and the current and potentially in the future that I am literally the most worthless, awful, yucky thing, then you'll probably realize, well, no, I can list a couple people that are more yucky than I am or that have done things. Maybe they're people that have equal value, but maybe they've made horrible choices and harmed other people and created really bad outcomes, right? So then that starts to move up your ranking of your own relative value and worth. Thus, you'll stop the battle. Once you make the decision and you stop fighting yourself, then you're able to go out and make decisions about, do you want to be here? You can't make decisions about do you want to be there when you're caught up and mired in this, the duality of you fighting against yourself about, do you deserve to be anywhere? So you have to answer that question first. My suggestion, my deepest want and desire is that you come to the realization of the fact, and it is a fact. Yes, you should be. Yes, you should be. You should exist. You should be alive. And now, once you make that decision, then it's up to you to decide how you're going to kind of rank yourself. People just spend so much time. They spend sometimes their whole life just beating up on themselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically. So you can't even begin to address the question of, they don't want me here, when you can't figure out what you want. If you believe you have value and you believe that's what you want to do, and you're not fighting with yourself, then go out there and do it. And you understand that everybody has people that don't like them. Everybody has people sometimes that despise them. At least they noticed you. Everybody has the majority of people on the planet. The majority, not all. There's some people who are very well known, but there are very few people that literally everybody on the planet knows, just because of isolation, cultural differences, different interests, whatever. But the situation is that everybody has people that ignore them and don't even know they exist. That's normal. We all experience that. I do, you do, everybody does. So within that is the reality. Come back down to making rational choices. You exist. That is, what do you want? Once you make the decision that, I'm arguing very, very aggressively, you can't even begin to defend rationally, telling anyone that you're the most awful, evil, worthless human ever. It's not even logical. So once you see that, because we're talking about that, then you make the decision. You'll discard that. It's not even an option. That's a viable, rational one. It's just going to put you sitting around, complaining and being full of pain and spreading misery to other people. So once you decide that that's not a rational choice, you're not going to do that, because it's horrible and gives you very bad outcomes. Then you're going to make somewhere on the spectrum of, okay, I'm here. I'm not going to be at war with myself. I'm going to find some way to define myself in some kind of healthy way. And now, what do I want to do? If I want to be there, I'll be there. So when other people don't like me or aren't nice to me, okay, I get it. And many of our other programs, of course, we talk about where that's coming from. Often for them, it's somebody who feels they're worthless and don't have any value. So they just lash out at everybody because that's what they're doing, is carrying around all that pain. So we talked about. That's why you don't want to do it. It's destructive. It's self-destructive. It's destructive to other people and organizations. It doesn't yield you any good outcomes. So that's why it doesn't work. We've decided that when you ask the question, help, they don't want me here, the answer is, do you want to be there? And then the answer, once you think through that and make a decision on your definition of yourself and whether or not how you're going to answer the question of the battle with yourself. You make a decision, okay, I'm valuable and here's what I believe about myself. Then sometimes when I'm stressed and I'm in a situation and I have a lot of pressure and I think, wow, really seriously, no one wants me here. Maybe it's because I'm new to this situation, or people are maybe it's something where there's a lot of competition, often in like a legal case or something. There's a competition. Somebody's going to win, quote unquote, and somebody's going to lose. So it's competitive. So it's not that it's something personal, but that's just sort of the nature of that interaction. I say to myself, at a minimum, even if I can't get to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm certainly the most gifted person in the setting. That may not be true, or I may not believe that to be true. But I will think this. I'll think, why not me? And then I just work my way up incrementally, and continue to trust myself and to understand that, of course, you always risk total embarrassment, humiliation, failure, all that kind of stuff. But that's normal and that's part of life. That doesn't influence my core value as a person. I want to be here, I'll be here. If other people don't want me to be here, tough. And there's nobody that's going to be in a situation for the total experience of their life that everybody wants them to be there. It's just not realistic. It doesn't happen because everybody's got their own narrative and their own situation. And you need to put this entire issue, you need to make a decision about it and then leave it alone, because you can't fix it. If there are people it's not something that you're just projecting your own pain and fear and insecurity. If there really are people who don't want you there, what would you do about it? That's why when you ask, why do you care? It's not to be flippant. What it means is, what could I do to change it? Nothing. Now, sometimes over time, somebody will think, "Oh, I didn't want you to be here at first, and now I've worked together for 5 years, and I really realize I think that you're, a contribution, and so now I do want you to be here." They could change their own mind, but you can't do anything at all to change that perception, belief that they hold in their mind at all. That's why when I say tough, what I mean is you can't do anything. It's like you telling me it's raining outside. Okay, what do you want me to do about it? I could tell you to put on an umbrella, use an umbrella, put on a raincoat, but I can't stop the rain. I don't even know anyone that can. So if they don't like you and they don't want you there, they don't want you there. So what's that have to do with things? Nothing. You can't do anything to change it. That's why once you acknowledge it, fine. That's not even a question. The question is, do you want to be there? As always, I encourage you to go to iTunes, leave us reviews, ratings, put the information out on your social media, and share what we're talking about. If there's anything that you think might be useful or helpful or interesting, we do encourage you to go to our sponsors. Today's highlighted sponsor is the American National Standard Institute. So on our webpage, which is CourtneyAnderson.com, episode 153, you'll also find the whole page with the definition, my notes, links, and the sponsor again is this organization, American National Standard Institute, which for 90 years has helped be part of standards, exactly what you think. And so if you are someone who's ever looked at project management standards or ISO 9000 or any of these, then you're dealing with this American National Standard Institute, ANSI. So they are a show sponsor. Please visit them, support them through the link on the page for episode 153 so that they'll know that you came from us and we'll get the recognition for that. And really, honestly, these are some of the most fundamental questions you'll ask in your entire life. And so, as I said at the outset, this is something it's painful, right? The idea of this topic is painful, but that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and it's about growth. And when you think through these things and you make your own decisions and you decide and you want to be there, then be there and share that joy and that contentment. And you'll be surprised how many other people you'll be a role model for in a really positive way. And you'll be surprised about how you'll learn to really respect yourself for trying things that are difficult or stretching yourself or committing to something wholeheartedly. It really, good things feed other good things. And then just put this issue, answer it. You've answered it. You want to be there, then it's done. Then leave all the rest of it alone. You don't care what they think. It's nothing you can do about it. You hope the best for them and keep being focused on your own goals, surpassing those goals, and again, those moments of joy in life. That's what it's about. And keep striving, and then enjoy it and celebrate your successes. Why not you? Again, thank you for joining me and being part of the program today. I am so grateful. Thanks.